I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull. So then we watched the building collapse.
They ignored it because they wanted it to happen. Every void starts with a false flag operation.
Hello, you are listening to Historica Esoterica, the only anti-occultism podcast about occultism. I am your host, MattKUltra, joined by
Roswell,
a name that we definitely did not just spend 30 minutes coming up with.
That's my real name.
Yeah, it is. It's
where I'm
Roswell's
from.
real name. It's also where he's from. What a good start. So this is a little teaser for our beloved listeners out there. A little something just to sort of outline the what our goals are with this project, I think is a good way to put it. Just sort of the things that we want to touch on and outline as we go forward through history.
So this is not a conspiracy theory podcast, and it's not a occultism podcast, but it is.
But it is both of those things. Yeah, it's as you described it before we recorded, a pseudo-history podcast. I liked that a lot.
Yes. I was kind of fascinated with the idea of kind of, I guess, taboo knowledge and like what is sort of considered fringe beliefs and looking at it through a lens of, well, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but for myself, kind of not critical lens, but a neutral lens and just try to see what's going on.
Yeah. So yeah, for the people at home, Roswell was interested in that, and then he stumbled across my Twitter feed one day and went, well, here is a man with an open mind.
An enlightened individual, one might say.
But yeah, that's one of the big things that I think we're going to do going forward through this is attempt to take a look at things that, things that Snopes might give a little a mostly false to, where you click on it and the mostly false is just like, they did this, but they said they didn't. So mostly false.
Who are you going to believe?
Who are you going to believe? The documents or Snopes.com?
Or Snopes.com.
But yeah,
what, are you going to not believe the government? They're so nice.
They've never done anything bad.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, not one thing. But yeah, so as we go forward, we're going to take a look and we're going to try to maintain a sort of not detached, I don't know, more like dispassionate approach to this. Like, we don't want to get too in the weeds. We'll see how good I specifically am at doing this. Because unlike me, you have not embraced the immortal science of Marxism. But,
no. And you're planning to win me over by.
I'm planning to win you over.
Right?
Yeah, we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see who wins who over first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna try not to get too more. It's more that we won't try to be topical with our our stuff. Like,
absolutely,
you will not find us like owning whoever's in the primaries. Like, neither AOC nor Madison Cawthorn will get dunked on.
As much as we want to.
Yeah, as much as we want to. Unless they come up organically in my research, which...
Sure.
I imagine they won't, but...
Yeah, that would be wild.
Yeah, if I find something, you can trust me to report it, everybody.
I can't believe AOC is in direct lineage of Aleister Crowley. I can't believe it.
There's a thread out there somewhere arguing this fact, and...
Definitely.
And I'm gonna find it and read it
You'll
in
find
full.
It. You'll be like, check out my source. It's a comment on Reddit.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing I can promise. I'll never be citing Reddit. Twitter, maybe. 4chan, probably. But Reddit, never.
And I'll try to cite, books.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Between the two of us, we'll get we'll manage
a slightly moderate opinion. Well, and I think that's the thing to mention too, is our two sort of differences in perspective and temperament.
Yeah.
I'll let you describe yourself, but I am sort of a outsider perspective, I would say, on a lot of this stuff. I don't know too much about occultism or conspiracy theories or anything relating to that, and really even politics in general. I'm kind of a history guy. That's what I like. That's my thing. That's what I'm knowledgeable about. But I am fascinated by all this stuff, and I'm excited to like dig into the meat and figure out what's behind it. That's my perspective, personally. Yours is?
I am sort of like all that, except not. I am. I don't want to paint myself as an expert on conspiracy theories in particular, but I probably know more than your average weirdo in college when it comes to strange things that have happened pretty much anywhere. My family jokes that anytime they bring up anything, I can like immediately link it to Epstein or the CIA or something. And in my defense,
it's all connected, man.
It's all connected. And in my defense, it's really easy to do that because they generally are bringing up things adjacent to like the military or Hollywood.
Right.
But
yeah, pretty, in terms of degrees of Epstein, those are pretty low on the list.
Yeah. And I don't, it's not that I don't get super passionate about most politics that you see, because I think that a lot of that is less important than it comes across as. Because
Definitely.
I'm a massive big brain. I am the worst person in your political science class. But
none of it matters. It's all political theater.
Yeah,
That's you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if you consider the sun's going to explode in a billion years, or
in
whatever,
7 billion years, so it doesn't matter.
So it actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I have a very small, but again, I think slightly more than your average person knowledge of the occult as well. I had a buddy who gave me a bunch of like occult grimoires and things like that, which will be coming up soon. Stay tuned.
That's a good
things
buddy.
Like that. Yeah,
Here, have some magic.
Yeah, no, he's a great dude. It's very funny though, because I gotta watch what I say around him, because he also is like closely related to several Freemasons, like, and so he's my problematic fave.
Yeah. Well, hey, you gotta have. Everybody has a problematic fave,
We all have one or two.
Humans are complicated, and I think that's also probably going to be what I'm going to be pulling out of a lot of this, because some of these topics are darker, right?
Oh, yes.
Some of them could be
so.
Quite depressing, and you might see some evils of mankind, right? But it's history, so it's complicated, and more often than not, it's not black and white, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing that I want to dig into as we go through these things. And I'm going to try not to use like leftist framings here, but you need a lot of the time when you look at the things that people like, specifically, I'm going to say the CIA, right? Because they've done a lot of bad things, and it's very easy to go like, what? I didn't know this.
CIA?
It's very easy to go like, this is just because like Alan Dulles was a sicko who liked like killing children or whatever. But it's obviously not what it really was. It's like these things, everybody's following some form of incentive. I don't necessarily think it's true that everybody thinks they're the good guy in the world, but I think that the vast majority of people do.
Absolutely.
And especially if you get entrenched in a system like that, it's very easy to get caught up in justifying these sorts of things to yourselves.
Yeah, especially when you have a greater good type of incentive and mindset.
Yeah, like, stopping communism is...
Well, you gotta.
Yeah, you can't let them do that. I mean...
They're wearing a lot of red, and that's just no good.
It simply does not jive with my fashion sense.
No, it doesn't match my eyes.
But, and so that's... I want to take a look, because I don't think... I know that I won't, and I doubt that you will. I don't think we're going to shy away from condemning these actions when they come up. But
of course not.
We're also... I don't want it to be like the thing that drives me crazy about, say, like Epstein coverage, right? Is a lot of people are like, it's so crazy that this one sicko managed to do that. He had no connections to anybody.
Yeah.
I want to be clear.
It's amazing that with absolutely no relationships and connections, he was able to create this gigantic web
of
abuse
relationships
that
and connections.
that connects to no one, really, if you
Yeah,
think about it.
Yeah, no one's implicated, frankly.
Except for Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Or William J. Clinton. Oh, hang on now.
Oh, hang
What
on.
did I just stumble upon here?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, depending on who you ask.
Wait. Bill Clinton would never be involved in any sort of sex scandal. That's
Yeah,
just
I mean, have you seen him play saxophone? A man like that.
a man with that caliber.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's going to be one of the things I want to do, and I want to sort of outline the fact that, like I was saying again before we recorded, you can draw a fairly direct line from the post World War II Cold War intelligence apparatus in the West specifically to a lot of things that are going on now. In that, even if some of these things I can't prove are directly related, there's a lot of like weird connections that you'll find.
Sure.
Be that Epstein
correlation.
There's correlation. There's names that just keep popping up for some reason.
Yeah.
And things like that. So you sort of want to go through and, I don't know, we're not going to immediately rule out. Well, we're going to try not to. There's some things that we're just going to, like, we're not going to do anything explicitly racist. Like, we're not going to. But let's take a look at these crime statistics. Like that.
I'm just throwing out all of my papers that I have written on the Rothschilds right now. Just pushing those to the side.
This giant book. It's like, well, we're going to have to.
Well,
on to plan
George
B.
Soros. Let's be clear. This is not InfoWars, right?
Yeah.
That's not the perspective. And it's also not Chapo Trap House.
Yeah.
We're not going to be either of those things.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're looking for, go away.
If that's what you're looking for, or stay. Take the pill.
Beautiful personalities.
Yeah, take the HE pill.
That's right.
Hormonal estrogen.
Hey.
No, so yeah, we want to be open, not so open that again we like stumble our way into like reading books by Nazis and going like, well, hang on now, what are they up to over here?
Right.
But we don't want to say like, well, the New York Times called this a carefully crafted hoax, and therefore we're not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah, I think we're going to be taking what maybe mainstream media says with a pinch of salt, and maybe what fringe media says with a pinch of salt, and try to find what everybody thinks, I guess, and then offer our perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think even I wouldn't be opposed to looking at things that I genuinely do not believe and that I would rule out, like say like flat Earth. Like taking a look at that and going like, well, what are these guys up to? Why? Yeah. Where did this come from? Why do they believe that? Things like that as well.
Look at it from kind of like a God's eye historical view to see sort of the evolution of that sort of belief and perhaps why it resonates with so many people.
Yeah, why it resonates with so many people.
And why it's real.
And why it's true. But also like, what like the benefits might be for people in power to have that belief out there. Like I want to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I want to keep that perspective, right? That there is, someone's generally, well, always someone's going to gain from whatever we're talking about here. And that's part of why these things happen is someone sees a reason to, profit or gain power or do something. And from there, that's how these sort of actions take place. So following those incentive structures, I think it's going to be a big part of this.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that like a lot of these concepts are just interesting and it's interesting to learn about them, but we want to shy away from being, radicalized.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's the thing. I mean, especially when it comes to like, occultism and things like that, like,
right.
It's interesting to learn about, but you also don't want to like uncritically read through the Lesser Key of Solomon.
Please do not.
And you're like, well, let me summon a demon because just to be clear,
just for fun.
Yeah, just to be clear, we don't think that you should be summoning demons. Don't talk to the devil. He is in fact a liar.
Famously, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not woke. He's not an ally of the oppressed.
Yeah.
And
he's
Church of Satan.
He's not hanging out with Little Nas X.
Yeah, he's not hanging out with Little Nas X. Which, to be clear, that's a good thing. He shouldn't be.
Yes.
And
We
the
like
Church of
Little Nas
Satan
X.
has a cringe presence on Twitter. I'm sorry. I
And
know
that's
that
the
you think
most
it's-
the
that's
most important part.
the most
Yeah.
damning piece of evidence against it.
Yeah. Now, if Epstein had a cringe Twitter, we'd be a little more gung ho about him.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, he was pretty base. So I'm just-
Yeah. So we had to kill him in prison before he could
Exactly.
stand trial. Goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the general
That's the
sort of
gist.
that's most of the sort of things that I wanted to get out of the way in
Yeah.
terms of establishing what it is that we plan to
What
do.
this is
Do you have
going to
anything
be.
else?
Yeah.
Yeah, what this is going to be.
The only other thing I would say is that some of the topics that we might be covering later might be pretty heavy. I mean, we've kind of lightly touched on Epstein-related stuff, which has to deal with sex abuse and some
Yeah.
pretty heavy things. And I think the goal, too, is to try and not just stare into the abyss and make ourselves depressed and offer a purely negative view of the world. But perhaps, I don't know, I don't want to say come home with a positive takeaway, but at least not a defeatist takeaway, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah, no, there is a way out of this sort of situation. Like whenever we're talking
Sure.
about these things, there's something to learn from it, no matter what
Yeah.
it is, no matter how horrible it is. And that's the other reason that we're going to be talking about some of these things. And we'll,
Yeah.
you know, we like to have a good time. We like to joke
like to
around a
hang
little
out.
bit. Yeah, we
Yeah.
like to hang out, limited hangouts in particular. But we, especially when we're touching on more serious subjects, we'll try not
Sure.
to, be like making jokes about it as
Yes.
we're doing it. But I figure,
Appropriate to the material.
yeah, exactly. You know, like if we talk about Bigfoot, we'll probably be
Oh, yeah.
giggling a little bit.
We'll giggle for Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. But if we're discussing the Franklin scandal, we will probably be a little more serious,
A little somber on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll probably make note of that up front on each episode.
Yeah, I think, and I haven't run this by you yet, but I think depending on how heavy the material is, it might be nice to put a fair warning to people at the beginning, just so they know
Yeah,
how heavy the topic is that we're getting
just
into.
a little air horn and a compilation of people saying "safe space" or something.
Safe.
But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, just like that.
Well, I was wondering, now that we've kind of established what we're looking to do, did you maybe want to throw out some ideas as to stuff you might maybe want to cover in the future? Not
Yeah,
what we
sure.
already have chosen.
Yeah, I was thinking, just off the bat,
Yeah.
off the cuff, maybe like a history of grimoires would be a good
Yeah,
start.
that would be a good idea.
Um,
Great work, Matt. We'll
yeah,
get right
I know,
on
I'm,
that.
I'm a genius.
You really are.
But so yeah,
Um,
that will be our first episode, which will be releasing simultaneously to this one if all goes to plan.
Yes.
But who knows?
So
Learn.
learn about spooky magic with us.
Yeah, learn about spooky magic with us. But yeah, also I've mentioned this to you. I said I'm willing to do, like occasional more like relaxed, like say movie or book episodes, just like
Sure.
taking a look at something that feels relevant to the themes. Like I mentioned,
Yeah.
Alan Moore's From Hell, I think is
Yes.
a really good example. It is a tome. That thing is like 600 pages, if I remember right.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
Very depressing, but it's also very good. And it's
It's Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. One of my
Yeah.
favorite Simpsons cameos. But
I'm both surprised and not surprised by that.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
a weird cameo choice, but it doesn't surprise me that in 32 seasons they've
Yeah.
pulled him in.
they've also had like Thomas Pynchon, who like famously hates like going out and like giving interviews. Like they
Incredible.
pulled some weird people, but
It's the
You know.
power of Homer.
it's the power of Homer. But yeah, and then so doing things like that'll be a little later probably once we've more found our
Yeah.
footing.
Sure.
But I think an average episode will be a sort of, it won't be too deep of a dive. I want these
Yeah.
things to be accessible to people pretty much no matter what their prior knowledge
Right.
is.
Accessible and informative, I think, is the balance we want to strike, where we're doing some research so we have some insight on what we're
Yeah.
talking about, but it's not like a heavy research paper, essentially.
Yeah, because
in
there
audio
are
form.
there are some podcasts that I listen to where like they'll pop up in my feed and I'll be like, ooh, this looks interesting. And I click on it and they're just referencing things that they've already discussed that I have no idea. And I'm just sort of like, wait, what's Yamashita's gold? Like, I don't know what we're talking about here. Like,
I don't know what that is, but it sounds fascinating.
It is fascinating. The problem is then you have to like go back and listen to 45 hours of podcasting to like figure out what's going on. And we don't want to do that. I want it to be...
This will be like the TED Ed conspiracy.
Yeah,
channel,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. We'll be standing up there.
The KFC conspiracies. Did you see that?
Oh, yes.
The KFC conspiracy channel.
Yeah, it'll be like Crash Course, but for conspiracies.
Okay.
Which is to say, there will be various amounts of soy on display at all times. And really? I hope that we will be played in high schools soon. For
definitely. I think the kids need to know about what we're talking about.
The kids need to know what we're talking about. Yeah. That said, I am going to try and keep this pretty clean when we can.
Same.
Obviously, when we're talking about heavier subjects, those subjects will come up. But, I'm going to try not to do anything to I'm trying to figure out the word that I want to go for here for the I don't want to be crass is what we will
crass
say.
Yeah, well, especially I think that's actually appropriate if we're going to be covering serious topics later on. We'll kind of keep a consistent tone by not being too crude about things when we should.
So and that way I want this to be a podcast that you can send to your parents after having an argument with them over Thanksgiving dinner.
To prove that you're right.
Yeah. You mean listen to these two brilliant and well-informed men discussing these things. And if they're wrong, then I don't want to be right.
Then who's right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is truth, as Pontius Pilate famously said.
I don't know if that's who we want to be emulating in this situation.
Really? I guess. I guess you're right.
But I think we've outlined a good deal of stuff. Other things that we might get into, I think that I've considered. We'll take. I don't want to say that we'll take on just MKUltra in general because there is so much going on there. But we will end up touching on subjects adjacent to that. So we might just do like a primer at some point. Just playing the hits,
the broad strokes of MKUltra, and that might also be like a kind of a rotating thing we might bring in. Every once in a while, just touch on a different aspect of it.
Yeah, that's
keep it
generally.
Simple.
Yeah, I think going forward, we'll try at least to trade off between like a more occult centric thing, talking about that, and then maybe more of a just straight conspiracy history type of thing.
Right.
With the occasional, your occasional Mothman exploration. Like, what's going on there in Plainview, West Virginia? Yeah. Eventually, we'll get to him. But,
that's not far from you, right?
Oh, no. Mothman is very much my neck of the woods. So, when he started blowing up on the internet, I, felt like a hipster. I was like, this is my... not for you.
Yeah, I remember I got, a cryptid book in, 3rd grade. And I knew all of the cryptids before anybody else did.
Oh yeah, man.
And then a few years ago, Crystal Girl started talking about Mothman. And I was like, he's mine. You can't have him.
He's not for you.
You have the moon. Mothman's for me.
Although, we might reclaim the moon. We'll see.
Oh yeah, moon's for the boys now.
The moon is for the boys. But so I think that's really all that I've wanted to touch on. Just sort of outlining the general vibe that we're looking for.
That's what this is.
Yeah, this is an episode 0 of sorts.
Yeah. And if it feels like we're just spinning our wheels, it's because we have no idea what we're doing right now. But in the next episode, which you can listen to immediately after this, we'll be very well informed. Yeah,
and we will actually have notes. We've both taken notes for this next episode. We're going to actually have a track. This one was more of just establishing the vibe.
Yeah.
It was a way for me to figure out if I can speak with this slightly lower pitch in my voice and have it sound natural.
Is that what you're doing? I thought you were falling asleep.
Well, maybe there's a little bit of that too. Who knows? We will also, I might set up a Twitter and Instagram for us. I forgot to do that before this, but we'll plug that at the end of this next episode, which you can listen to immediately. I cannot stress this enough.
You can listen to it right now because we've already recorded it. Wink.
Yeah,
I'm winking
we've
at the camera.
We've already recorded.
We did.
And
It, yeah.
oh boy, it was a great episode.
was so
if you think
good.
that this one was bad, well, you're right. But also, this next one, way better.
Way better. Yeah. And we'll at least I'll be able to shake off how weird it is to call myself by another name.
Yeah.
That is not my.
Wait, you mean Roswell isn't your real name? Your given name?
No, but it is. But we're going to be using a pseudonym moving forward. Just
yes, of course.
Yeah.
Naturally, yeah. And I'll have to move away from my birth name of MattKUltra.
MattKUltra,
to
your
find
Christian
something
name.
Yeah, my Christian. I was christened MattKUltra.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
with
right.
that said, I'm going to, instead of plugging the show, I'll just plug myself. I'm going to say you can follow me at MattKUltra on Twitter. Give me a follow
And
and
you
say
can't
hi.
follow me.
Yeah, Roswell
can't.
has no presence. You cannot find him. The Men in Black will take you away if you ask too many questions about him. You can also follow me.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say you can also follow me on Instagram at Matt_K_Ultra because MattKUltra was already taken on there when I decided to rebrand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but give me a follow, say hello, and actually, so this doesn't just come across as a shameless attempt to gain clout, suggest things to me. Tell me what you want to hear us say.
Yeah.
So that way I can gain something from you following me.
And if you want to talk to me, just tell Matt what you want to say to me.
Yeah, I'll
We
serve
can
as the
converse through him.
intermediary.
Yeah. Kind of like, you're the sort of the high priest consorting with the gods. In this case,
exactly.
I am the gods.
Yeah, I'll
So.
be I was going to say, I guess it's less the listener. You are the high priest. I am like the animal entrails that you are reading, and Roswell is the gods delivering his will through me.
Absolutely. And I am a vengeful god, so be careful.
What a strange landing we brought this one in for.
Weird left turn this took.
Like, yeah, we want to be serious. We don't want to get too weird. But also, I am the entrails, and you the priest.
I am God. Yeah, and you're a priest. No.
Yeah, to be clear, this sort of vibe, this is the sort of thing that we're going to be saying you shouldn't be doing. Don't read entrails to consort with gods, is going to be my closing advice to you.
Yeah. Don't consort with gods in general. Well,
no, there's one god you should consort
there's one god you should consort with, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. We'll get into that eventually.
We'll get into that. We're going to take a hard left turn as a strictly Christian podcast.
Yeah, we'll just become like, we'll say like, we're doing a special episode on D&D, and it's just like a chick tract.
Yeah, exactly. We should just make the art for this podcast that chick tract of it's like they hated him because he spoke the truth. He says, "Shut up,
shut up." What a good picture.
It's such a good reaction picture.
I was thinking of the one where it's like from the D&D chick tract, which is the only one I've read all the way through because it's just perfect. It's a phenomenal read. There's just scene where she's like, "No, I can't live without my character. You can't kill her," which.
Relatable.
Yeah, it's my reaction whenever I get in trouble on Twitter. But,
no, please, this character I've crafted for myself. I cannot live without him.
But so yeah, with all that said, I'm just going to say, give us a following once we have a social media to follow.
It'll be linked.
Yeah, and remember, it's all connected.